My guest today is founder and CEO of Nourishment Vitality Coaching, Sheryl Puterman. Cheryl's here to share her incredible story of how her and her family survived the 2004 tsunami and how that led her to founding Nourishment Vitality. So, Sheryl, welcome very much to the Pocket Mastermind podcast.
Thank you, David. Lovely to be here, and thank you for inviting me on your show. And lovely to be chatting with you. It's so great to connect with people from all over, and being in a position where we can actually, thankfully, online, reach out and connect and speak to some amazing people, and have some really interesting conversations. So, thank you for having me.
Now, in the intro, I talked about very briefly on the tsunami, so I think that's probably a good place to start. I remember watching all of the footage of that unfolding over Christmas in 2004, and I can't imagine what it must have been like to be there and caught up in it. So tell us a bit about that scenario. How did that all unfold from your perspective?
You know, Dave, 2004. And many years ago, yet the impact that life-changing traumatic event had on me and on my life still remains today. Mm-hmm. And for myself, and I'll speak about this later on as I go into the story, it was actually the one event in my life that actually changed the trajectory of how I view life, and my attitude towards life changed from that point onwards. We were actually, myself and my family, my husband and my two boys, they were very young at the time. We were living in Hong Kong at the time. Mm-hmm. And we had actually just arrived in Hong Kong 6 months prior to that. My husband had been transferred to Hong Kong for work purposes. And this was actually our first vacation that we had booked. We had booked a vacation to Phuket, Thailand. Mm-hmm. I remember feeling extremely exhausted from the move, as you know, or many people may have had to even just move homes. Mm-hmm. Moving your home to another country is exhausting, and it's emotionally exhausting. I had actually never seen Hong Kong. I was living in Israel, and I packed up my home with my two young boys, and I went to live in a country that I'd never seen, which took a lot of courage. And I was very fearful, landing in a place I'd never seen and waking up and saying, okay, well, begin. You know, this is your life, begin. And, you know, as a mom, we are often the captains of our ships, and we have to pull it together and be there, and for our kids, show that we're okay with everything, so that they will be okay with everything. And so 6 months into our arrival in Hong Kong, we had booked this very well-deserved break to Thailand, and we actually flew on the 25th of December, just the day before, on Boxing Day. And you know, when we arrived there in Thailand, there was a complete muddle up with our booking, etc. I always say that there was some sort of a divine intervention. Mm-hmm. In actual fact, just before we left, the travel agent called us from Hong Kong to say that there was a problem with our booking, and they moved our hotel from one hotel we were booked in at the Holiday Inn to another hotel. Thankfully so. And when we arrived, there was still an additional muddle up, and they put us all on the 6th floor. And there was actually only one bed for all of us. It was very frustrating. They couldn't find another room that night. And the next morning, I hadn't even seen Thailand at all. We went for a relaxing walk along the beach. Do you want all the details?
Yeah.
By the way, okay, because I'm just actually, as I'm talking 100%. About it, going into the details. The way I remember some of the parts that still jut out in my mind, and we were walking along, going for this lovely walk. Actually, at breakfast, you could feel the tremor, but yet we didn't take any notice of it because it wasn't that severe. and going for this beautiful walk. And my eldest son, who was only 7 at the time, said he didn't want to be on the beach and that we should go up to the pool, and he was complaining. And you know what, I'll never forget, there were some beautiful people that I connected with along this walk, and they were stopping to look at my kids, and there was a specific lady where we really just connected. And now we were back at the pool. We had listened to my son in reflection, going back. I actually think that it was listening to my son that in essence actually saved us. So now we were sitting by the swimming pool, and there were 2 swimming pools. There was a beautiful pool in front of me and one behind me. And my eldest son was at the pool behind me. My younger son was at the pool in front of me. And the surroundings were simply magnificent. It was as if I was in paradise, in this beautiful, beautiful place. I just felt relaxed. I felt blessed, and just noticed the beauty around me. But suddenly I had a very strong feeling, and I'm not even sure why I had that strong feeling. I turned back to look at my eldest son, who was in the pool behind me, and he was playing beautifully. And I got up and I asked him to get out of that water and come to where I was. And he refused. He was 7 years old, playing beautifully in the water. And I was extremely insistent. I wasn't taking no for an answer. And I said, get out. I asked him a few times. And I insisted that my son get out of the water and come and join me where I was. Eventually he came after a few times of my insistence. And you know what, I really strongly remember, Dave, that I needed my son near me. I wasn't having any of him saying no to me. And now I had my 2 boys playing beautifully in front of me. And I felt wonderful. I was lying back. I was relaxing. I had my kids in front of me. And the next thing, I just hear my hubby screaming, get up! And you just see everybody running. And, you know, I didn't know what on earth was going on. It was a very surreal moment. My husband grabbed my younger son. I looked at my elder son, who was an extremely fast runner. And I actually just yelled at him and screamed, move, because the tsunami hit with a speed and a violence it was simply overwhelming. I've never seen anything like that. I had never seen what a tsunami was. I didn't know what on earth was happening, but all I knew is that the sea was coming. And all you could do, there was no time to think, there was no time to fear, there was no time to freeze. All you could do was act. In that moment, you know, where you know, you just act. You actually act. You're in danger, in the fight, flight, or freeze. That initial point is where you actually just act. I acted, and we ran like we've never run before. And what actually saved us was that the hotel was on an incline, and the water surrounded, and then it kind of withdrew. But because of the incline, that's what saved us. And when I turned back, I actually didn't know what had happened, but I did kind of feel a calm. I didn't know what was going on. We went up to the room. We walked up. Every single hotel door was open. It was as if people just fled out of there. There was a lot of damage. There was a lot of not very nice things that we saw. My boys were crying. I packed a little bag, an emergency bag for them. It was still in the days of the old mobile phones. It wasn't the smartphones that we have today. I still thought and actually said to my husband, just get hold of someone, my family in South Africa. His family is also from South Africa. Let them know where we are. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if the building was going to fall down on top of us. I didn't know what was going on. My boys were crying, and I just looked at them and I said, when Emma, that's mom in Hebrew, says run, you run. Boys, when Emma says run, you run. And they were little. I just remember them holding hands and saying, stick together. And they were crying, and they saw things that wasn't very nice as well. And it was a very traumatic event. It was a very traumatic event. We were very blessed. There were so many people that lost their lives in that event. And it changed the trajectory of the way I view my life from that moment onwards. I really learned that you never know what the next moment's going to bring. One moment I was in paradise, and the next I was swept up in chaos, destruction, hell, so to speak.
Couldn't be more of a contrast, could it?
There couldn't be more of a contrast. And when we returned, we actually managed to get back to Hong Kong pretty quickly. We had to rebuy another ticket, etc. I really struggled with a lot of overwhelming anxiety, a tremendous amount of panic attacks. It really hit me. Everything kind of that had happened, and all the things and the images, etc. It really hit me. And again, you know, I had to be there for my boys who were also processing and going through things. And it was a very trying time in my life. But I was blessed to be living in Hong Kong at the time, where there were so many amazing teachers and masters, and in the fields of mindfulness. And it was this traumatic life-changing event for me that actually led me to my studies and my expertise on the science of stress, on the healing power of breathing. And I was very blessed and humbled by the whole experience to learn with some of these greatest teachers. And I spent countless hours studying and doing trauma relief courses, and became very passionate about what can you do to help yourself during a panic attack? What can you do to help yourself where things just cave around you? It's really hard. And it gave me a very deep understanding, left me with a very deep understanding of human vulnerability and what we as human beings need to overcome in order to live our lives with some level of optimism and energy. And at the end of the day, I really believe that their traumas, that some of them you just never overcome. They just become an integral part of who you are. But do they actually have to define you every moment from that moment onwards? I believe that the way you actually look at the trauma, the fears, etc. in your life, and either learn from them or hide from them, can make all the difference in how you choose to move forward in your life. And sometimes you just move forward with things that have really scarred you. But it is possible. I know for me, I was challenged with uncertainty for years. Still am sometimes, but I have learned a tremendous amount in relating to uncertainty in a way that actually I can relax more into life's uncertainties, because I was faced with such one moment I was in bliss and the next I was in chaos. It was kind of like my lifelong lesson here, that you just never know. And so every time uncertainty hit me in life, and it sure did, because it does in life, time and time again, it would chip a little bit more on that wound. And my relationship with uncertainty took a lot of work. And even now, through the current pandemic and through life of what so many people have had to go through, it's a very uncertain. We don't know. And the fact of the matter is that we don't know in life. There's no guarantees. Yet, you know, we always want guarantees. Why are there so many money-back guarantees on products? Because as human beings, we want to know. We want to know we're not going to get caught in a future that we don't like. We're not going to get caught in a situation that we don't like the outcome of. We want a promise that everything's going to be good, that everything's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, in reality, it's just not how life works. So our mindset towards uncertainty really needs to be looked at and to be improved, so that as we move forward, we can actually relax more into life's experiences, rather than stressing into life's experiences, where we can actually show up in life more with a response instead of a reaction. Responsibility, even though not spelt that way, I love to look at that word as able to respond to life, to life's challenges, to the stresses of life as they show up. You can choose your response rather than come in from when you're reacting or coming in from just being a victim. It's much more empowering to actually choose your response, because we can't always control our external factors and we can't always control the things that happen, but we can to some degree help ourselves respond in a way that can be more helpful to us. So, years later, through this all, I had studied so much. I had all of the skills on paper, all of the necessary tools, skills, everything that I needed to move forward in a career now that I really envisioned for myself, which is helping a lot of people with stress relief, with helping people move forward and optimize their lives, living their lives to their full capacity. And I was also always very passionate about nutrition, and having struggled in that way as well. Having turned to food for comfort and being an emotional eater, I was a stress eater. So later on, I studied dynamic eating psychology, mind, body, nutrition. I've actually been studying metaphysical sciences ever since I was 15 years old. So I've always been passionate about the fascinating connection between brain, body, behavior. And that's what led me to where I am today, where I'm the CEO and founder of Nourishment Vitality. We are the #1 sustainable shame-free approach for stress, fatigue, weight management, and we help people to overcome their issues, whether it's with their weight management issues, whether it's with their life stress, whether it's within their corporations, actually overcome these challenges at the root cause so that they can truly course correct and move forward and maximize their productivity and their potential, showing up as the very best version of who they are in life.
So when did you start the Nourishment Vitality?
Nourishment Vitality's been operational for approximately 3 years now. Right. 2-3 years. And as I say, I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 20 years because prior, initially, even before I actually moved to Hong Kong, I was actually in the cosmetic industry, cosmetologist, aromatherapist, working in that way. So I always had a very good understanding of that mind-body connection, working with people, working with slimming therapies, the skin therapies, health therapies on the body, on the mind. And as I say, always having studied so much about the metaphysical sciences and the healing energies for as long as I can remember. In Hong Kong, after the tsunami, this really developed into my expertise with the science of stress, the healing power of breathing, and later on into the dynamic eating psychology, mind, body, nutrition. And now at Nourishment Vitality, we offer a 360 holistic health and wellness platform for people to overcome their issues in life, whether it's with the weight management and the nutritional aspects, helping them to feel well, to feel well, and really diving into the emotional aspects of their relationship with food and healing their relationship with food and their food story, or whether it's with stress and fatigue. We do offer innovative, results-focused wellness programs, both for corporations, group workshops, and our individual coaching packages, helping people to overcome these issues in their life at the root cause. And we also have online courses, which people can actually take a look at my website, www.sherylputerman.com. That's SHERYL. Puterman. We have so many resources on the website. It's a very rich website with a lot of resources. We put a lot into it. So please, everybody, take a look there, dig around and see all the amazing resources that we do offer there as well. And we also have videos. I do have a video out on my Tsunami story as well, if anybody's interested in that as well.
Definitely check that out. So talk to us a bit about one of the things I'm quite interested in. You touched on quite a few things there that quite fascinate me, and one of those is the healing power of the breath. And I think I'd love to learn a bit more about how important the breath is to us, and how we can better, it sounds silly, but breathe better, right?
Oh, it's extremely, it's funny that you said it sounds silly. It's the science of the simple. The breathing is something that is accessible to every single human being, and there is so much power in learning how to breathe correctly. It is an amazing tool for ourselves as human beings to connect. Our emotions and our breathing are very closely connected. And when we're anxious and afraid, we don't breathe correctly. When we are relaxed and happy, we breathe more fully, and we breathe more deeply. And practicing something as simple as deep, conscious breathing throughout your day can really help you to just get your body out of stress response, out of that sympathetic nervous system dominance, into the relaxation response inside your body physiologically, into parasympathetic nervous system dominance, where you actually can self-soothe, self-regulate, and actually just calm yourself down in a matter of seconds. And if you go on just for a minute, just practicing controlled breathing, where you actually just count something so simple as just counting your inhale and then counting your exhale. So breathing in 2, 3, 4, perhaps hold for a second or two, and just breathe out 2, 3, 4, even a little bit more, 5, 6, and then again in and out. Just like that, you can calm yourself down. And at the end of the day, a stressed person and a stressed mind can't focus. And when you can't focus, you can't accomplish anything. You can't get anything done. So just practicing deep conscious breathing can really help you to not only self-soothe, but calm down, get that stability, get that clarity, get that focus, so that you can actually take healthy risks, whether it's in your personal life or whether it's in your professional life, that actually makes sense for you, and figure out what's the next logical step for you.
It makes such a difference. I started meditating probably only a year ago, just over a year ago or something. And it makes such a massive difference if you can get that calm, like you say, focusing in on the breath. And even when you were talking about it then, I was following what you were saying. And
I noticed that. I did notice that. But at the end of the day, how's the meditation experience been for you, Dave?
Oh, amazing. I love it.
What has it done for you?
I think it's just what it's given me, I think, is a distance between me, my thoughts and emotions for most of the time. Now, obviously there's still times where something happens and that gap seems to close. But I think over time, the gap seems to increase, and it gives you a perspective of being able to observe your reactions to things. And as you said earlier about being responsible and learning to be 100% responsible for everything, I think people get confused with the term responsible and responsibility with blame and accountability.
Oh, yes.
And they're two
great point.
Very different things, right?
Absolutely. And I think that having any kind of ritual, and a lot of people actually feel a little intimidated at starting a meditation practice. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be something just as simply taking 5 minutes of your day initially. I always say start off small. Don't set the bigger goals so that you kind of feel like, oh, I can't concentrate. I can't get this done. It's about just taking that time to invest in yourself and just self-soothing yourself. It can be done through counting the breath. It's just simply counting the breath. And if you notice, it's amazing that you also notice the difference between the observer and that distance between your actual thoughts. Thoughts may come and thoughts may go. You may zone in, you may zone out. That's okay. Just allow the thoughts to come and allow the thoughts to go. And over time, you'll pay less attention to the thoughts and just see it as it is. It's a thought. And in time, you will kind of plant a seed that grows and grows and becomes bigger and bigger. And you will be able, if you're disciplined and you do that regularly enough, as with anything, you will be able to get to that place of calmness within yourself quicker. So there's so many ways to do that, through counting or even through just saying an empowering word that means something to you, whatever that word is, and just focusing on one thing, on one point, and or even just hearing the water running or a noise in the room and focusing on that can actually take you into a place of just a more relaxed state of being. And just notice your thoughts for what they are. They're thoughts. They come, they go. They don't have to define you. You can get to choose your thoughts. You don't like a thought and it's coming in and it's bothering you too much. I always like to say you can train your mind like a puppy dog, and even just visualize a stop sign. A stop sign. In mind's eye, just see a stop sign and replace that thought, if it's a negative thought and it's very bothersome, with a more positive, empowering thought that feels better for you. And you can do that and reset that button as many times as possible. There is no right way or wrong way to do this. It's just a matter of training oneself. And another very simple way for people to actually just get in tune with their physicality and with their body is to do a simple mind and body scan, where you can start from the top of your head or from the tips of your toes and just in your head go through all the different body parts, your top of your head, between your eyebrows, your jaw, unclench your jaw. Notice, is it tense? Notice, where is stress holding in your body? Are you burdening a lot of stress on your shoulders? Can you release some of that? Drop your shoulders slightly. And then just go through the various body parts, breathing in and breathing out in each body part. You can even clench each muscle as you go through. So when it comes to the hands, take your hands in a fist, breathe in and clench your fists together. And when you breathe out, just relax. And, you know, the incoming breath is very energizing for the body. And the letting go in that exhale is very relaxing for the body. And just continually do this. You can listen to music when you do this. You can just be quiet and listen to an external noise. And just over a period of time, it becomes a lot easier. But there is no right way or wrong way. It's not just about sitting on a mountaintop and meditating peacefully. That's great. I've done courses in silence. I've been through all of that.
What was that? What was the silence like? Because I've read some. I'm quite intrigued by attempting this at some point, and I've read accounts of a lot of people who've done this and said that the first few days was surprisingly difficult. Yeah.
So difficult, because initially what I learned about the nature of my mind. My mind wouldn't keep quiet. The more I tried to keep my mind quiet, the more verbal it got. It kept chattering. And the more I was trying to silence myself, it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And eventually, and it didn't happen on day one for me at all. I really had to go through it. Eventually, there was just quiet, and it was amazing. In actual fact, there are no words to describe it. When you experience the essence of your being, I mean, the real essence of your being. There are no words to describe it. It's something you experience, and you'll know it when you experience it. And this is different for every person. For me, it was one of the most beautiful, beautiful moments in my life. And one of the reasons why I begin every single day of my life with meditation and with breathing, because it's very important for me. There are days that I don't, but for most often I do. The days that I don't, I notice that I'm a bit more rattled through the day. But when I choose to start my day with more positive momentum and take that time, I do it through the power of the breath and through the various different breathing techniques, and just quiet my mind down. I then do some creative journaling, etc. I find that I get to set the tone for the day, instead of riding on an emotional roller coaster where everything else happens to me. I get to ride through whatever it is that's happening in the day. Is it all perfect all the time? No. We don't live in a perfect world. Contrast is going to exist. Stuff's going to happen. Things are going to come up. You're going to have difficult conversations. People are going to get on your nerves. You're going to get on other people's nerves. But how are you showing up in your day? And having that distance between our experiences and knowing, really knowing who we truly are, can make all of that difference. So I always say that self-awareness, being self-aware, is a very empowering first step to take, whether it's through validating your experiences and your feelings and your emotions. Very important. Acknowledge your feelings. If you are feeling all over the place and you are feeling very emotional, acknowledgement, awareness. When you become self-aware, you get to become the authority in your life. You get to become your very best advocate for showing up for yourself and for choosing your responses over life's happenings and over life's experiences. Make sense?
Massively, yeah. I think it's all about being more present now, isn't it? Because as humans, we seem to be predisposed to either thinking backwards quite a lot or worrying about what's coming quite a lot. And you can't do anything about what's already happened. You can do something about what's going to happen, but worrying is a bit like, I always call it skiing into a tree. You know, if you ever learn to ski or snowboard or drive even, they always say, look where you want to go. If you look at the tree, you hit the tree, right? And it's something I definitely had to learn, because you can worry about stuff happening, and it's more likely to happen because all of your attention is now on the thing you don't want to happen. A bit like your thoughts when you were talking about trying not to think. By definition, you're thinking, aren't you? So you've got to try and find somewhere breaking that habit.
Absolutely. That's where that stop sign can be extremely helpful in pressing that reset button, in becoming self-aware about what radio station you actually tuned into, because our thoughts can be, and negative thoughts especially, can really set us on that downward spiral of momentum. So if you're self-aware, you can catch yourself. Is this really where I want to be heading before I hit into that tree? Is there something that I can do about it? And sometimes we've let it go a little bit too far. But for the most part, we can actually just self-soothe ourselves, almost like self-parent ourselves, guide ourselves into, is this situation, what is the situation? Is this so bad? How can I move my way through this? And start to because, we also have to be real about if there's a problem, maybe there is a problem. But take a reality check. Exactly. We can't just say, okay, well, it's not real. It's not real. No, sometimes things are happening. So how can we have that reality check and self-soothe at the same time? I often look at a situation and say, okay, well, I've been in situations like this before, and I've always gotten out of it, and things have always worked out for me, and this will too. And perhaps if I start doing this, then this can happen. What's the problem? What's the solution? What's one action step I can take in order to help myself through this. Even take a pen to paper, write it down, and it doesn't matter, write down a few things. Out of those few things, one of them may jut out to you, and that's your start. That's your start for actually starting to get more positive momentum going when you feel like you're about to hit that tree, or you've hit the tree. What do you do? And if it's early enough, if you catch yourself early enough, that's the very best time to intervene and stop sign, replace it with a more positive, empowering thought. You can try do it later on down the line, but it's harder to do. So if you are too far down that spiraling down, then just take paper to pen. What's the problem? What's the solution? What's something I can do about it? And start to just kind of get some of the ideas out there and self-soothe yourself. Self-soothe yourself and calm yourself down, because at the end of the day, when we are coming from looking at our problems through a very stressed mind, it's very difficult to have a clear vision and take healthy risks. And also, at the end of the day, our fears are very often exaggerated. So really take that reality check in. Is this really so? Is it true? Is it really, really true? And how do I know that this is the way things are? So many times our stories in our head, we think, when you train your mind to only see the negative possibilities, then your mind starts to believe that that's the only possible future and the right story for you. So our fears can be exaggerated. And I always say, choose to make your courage greater, bigger than your fear. And when you come into situations with a more relaxed, even if you're just physiologically relaxed, there's a problem, but you're physiologically relaxed, you can make that next logical step. What's the best next logical step for you, and to take healthy risks from a place where you are more calm, focused, got more clarity moving forward.
We tend to have a fear of fear, don't we?
Oh yes, fear is huge.
And the fear of fear seems to be bigger than anything that's likely to. Very rarely is anything anywhere near as bad or as scary as you think it's going to be. Generally, the bad and scary stuff is like with the tsunami stuff, you didn't know that was going to happen, not the stuff you think's going to happen.
Absolutely, but even through our adversities, we learn. It can be our greatest coach. It can be our greatest teacher in life is our adversities. And we are creatures of familiarity. We like familiarity. So when we don't know, we become afraid. We want to know. We want to guarantee. Tell me that it's going to be like this, but we don't know. So, our fears can be exaggerated. We are afraid of being in a place of it's going to be too much for me, etc. And often it's not. And sometimes it's a matter of just doing the thing that you so fear, or pushing yourself out of that comfort zone, becoming more familiar with it. And after you've done something once, it's not so frightening. After you've done it twice, it's less. After you've done it 5 times, it feels okay. And after you've done it 10 times, well, you don't know what you were afraid of in the first place.
It's so true. It's one of the questions that I've used myself, and I can't remember where I picked this up from, but when you're facing a challenge, I think a lot of people get confused with positive thinking and blind optimism or delusion. And actually, positive thinking just means being solution focused, right? Trying to come up with an answer rather than being the victim, as you said earlier, of a circumstance or whatever. And one of the questions is how, is something I think. How could I? And as soon as you pose that question onto any situation, how do I get out of this? How do I make it better? How do I do? You become a solution person rather than being hit by it. And that's
absolutely
very, very well for me.
Yes, I think that's fantastic, because when you do ask those questions, you ask a powerful question. you get more of a powerful answer. So when we start leaning in with curiosity for where we're at, curiosity is a very healthy way to look at things. Be curious about how can I look at this challenge? How can I do something? So when we bring in curiosity, we can actually become that more solution focused and focus forward. And that gives us our best bet to actually move forward with a more healthy, positive momentum when we become more solution focused instead of focused just on the problem. So it's again a matter of training our minds and our mindset to become more focused forward in a way that can serve us best. So if we can learn to bring our attention towards the things that we want instead of the things that we don't want, it can make all the difference. And part of when we actually calming ourselves down, and even when you actually become a very, very still and calm, and you actually just train your mind to increase your ability to focus, increase your ability to focus on the things that you want, you're heading in the right direction.
And that's focus is interesting, right? Because you could do back to the tree thing. You will head in the direction that you're facing, and I think taking that time to calm down and allow the thoughts to flow, because that's where ideas come from. I think it's very hard to be creative when you're continuously distracting yourself. And if you're continuously distracting yourself, do you know what you want for your life in the future? Do you know where you're heading, or is it just happening because every day is a distraction? I think there's another benefit that I found comes from taking the time out of your day to be calm, is actually ideas of what you want to do, where you want to go. That's where they tend to come from. They come from the quiet moments, not from the time when you're busy watching TV or online or with other people.
Absolutely. And in actual fact, a great point, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of hidden impacts of stresses on our hearts, on our minds, on our souls that we're not even aware of. And part of these hidden impacts is, and part of the things that we're not even conscious of that we're doing, is that we are multitasking. We are eating when we're talking to people on the phone, online, rushing out. We live in this fast-paced culture of go, go, go. We truly, really take that time to slow down. But at the end of the day, we do need to take that time to pause, to slow down, and to take that time to rest, to replenish, to rejuvenate our minds, because that is where real creativity exists. Money-making, profitable ideas, any ideas, are born from that time of when we are inspired, in spirit, inspiration. And when we can truly hone in to that place within ourselves, that's where clarity exists. And that's why the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves is allowing ourselves to actually slow down and to notice, to be present, to be mindful. Mindfulness is such a big thing in our world today. And we are so often not mindful. Like you said earlier, David, that our minds, human minds, we often going backwards and forwards between what was, what will be. It's very rare that we actually catch ourselves present and in the moment. But when we do, boy, oh boy, that's when life happens. That's where the magic is. That's where the action truly is. That's where our happiest moments are. And are we actually bringing in all of who we are to those happiest moments? Because when you can experience these moments of life fully, you're living. And if only we could do more of that, more of the time. And it's a practice. It's not a perfect, but if we can catch ourselves when we're not focused, I'll never forget taking a beautiful walk. It wasn't, I think it was last year sometime, along the beachfront. And I had a lot on my mind, and I was walking along. And when we arrived, I looked at the beachfront. I thought, oh, beautiful. And before I knew it, we had reached the other side. I'd been walking for about 30 minutes, and I became conscious of the fact that I wasn't conscious. I had missed that entire walk because my mind was so busy playing on scenarios and things, and my mind was so busy, I had missed the beauty of where I was. And it became a very big aha moment for me, that one that I'll actually never forget, because I realized that I had missed so much beauty that was in front of me, I had missed the whole walk because I was thinking, my mind just was so busy thinking of other things.
How often do we do that? I mean,
A lot of
most of our days, you know,
exactly.
we've got to raise consciousness, and it is, yeah, I think we do. And if we're not, even if we're unconsciously doing it, we spend a lot of our time looking forward to another milestone of whatever it might be. It might just be to the end of the day. It might be to lunchtime. It might be to the end of the week. The most common one is trying to get to Friday and then dread Monday. Like, do you know?
Exactly.
You've got to get out of that place if you're living in that world. And I'm sure we've all been there. I've definitely been there. I've lived that life, and it's terrible. And you know, what you were just describing there, walking along with your mindful, your body has no idea. It doesn't tell the difference between a real event and an imagined one, right? So
absolutely. And neither does it tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined threat.
Right.
So we can think about something very, very fearful, and our body will physiologically go into that stress response immediately because it can't differentiate between that real and that imagined. But a very practical way, if you find that you are someone whose mind is so chattering, you can't focus, you can't get anything done, is to actually just say to yourself, what are 5 things that I can see, or 3 things that I can see, 3 things that I can feel, 3 things that I can hear, to just bring yourself in the moment. If you're cooking and you find your mind is somewhere else, remind yourself, I'm cooking, I'm taking out the pan, I'm cracking the egg open, I'm making an egg. Remind yourself, tell yourself, your mind is the most powerful tool that you have. So tell the mind, if you find that you are just rambling on in your mind, so that you can actually focus being in the moment more so, and practice being mindful more of the time. Notice the beauty. When you're taking a walk and you see a flower, notice the colors. How often, when was the last time you actually looked at a flower and actually noticed the depth of the color in the flower?
Mm-hmm.
We don't.
It's so true. I say the same, and it's only because I've gone down the meditation path, and I don't know whether you're aware of Sadhguru, and I follow a lot of what Sadhguru says, and he opened my eyes through inner engineering onto, you know, he said people are bored, and yet you could spend your whole life studying a single leaf and never fully understand it. How could you be bored in this world? You know, and we do take so much for granted. Look at an apple. I mean, where did that thing come from? How did that become so perfectly apple-like? Do you know? And being able to give some thought to the stuff we take for granted releases the brain hugely.
Absolutely, it certainly does. And just focusing on the blessings, and Sadhguru is amazing, and his teachings are amazing, and just focusing on the things that we have with appreciation, with all the blessings that we have. Because when we focus on the lack, which a lot of us do, it doesn't open up our hearts enough. When we focus on the blessings and all the things that we have, we create space. We create space for more wonderful things to come to us. We keep ourselves open. We keep ourselves more receptive to life's blessings. And so it's all about the focus in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And just before we finish up, you touched on you know, in your morning routine, you've got meditation and you do some journaling. I think it'd be good to have another conversation just around those kind of things. But any other tips you can give for what we can do throughout the day that might just give us a bit of a head start?
Absolutely. So again, you know, waking up in the morning, paying attention to the way that it is that you're waking up in the morning. So often we wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that we do? We reach for our telephone, we start scrolling through social media, we go to the computer with our cup of coffee, and we start going through our emails. So pay attention to the way that you wake up in the morning. As you open your eyes, as you put your feet down on the floor, when you stretch, take that deep inhale and choose the way that you want to start your day. Perhaps take a time to create some sort of a daily ritual for yourself. If you are finding that now, which a lot of people are working more remotely and from home, establish healthy boundaries within your day for your work life, so that balance, so that you can create a work-life balance that actually works for you. When you're having lunch, can you turn off your telephone during lunch, or not look at your emails during lunch? Can you be present? Can you actually just enjoy the food that you're choosing to eat? Can you choose more nourishing foods so that you can feel well to feel well? That will certainly help to activate your energy, to accelerate your performance. Are you relying too heavily on caffeine and on sugar for a false fix? If so, is there a healthier way that you can actually get in the beverages that you need within your day? You can still have your coffee, but are you continually going for unhealthy beverages in your day? What are you sipping on during the day? So again, bringing your attention to nourishing choices in your day. And very importantly, I believe, and we at Nourishment Vitality, we teach that nourishment is more than what you eat. It's how you feed yourself on an emotional, a physical, and on a spiritual level. What are things that you enjoy? What are things that you like doing? Create an inventory for yourself, a nourishment inventory for yourself. How many times a week are you doing the things that you actually enjoy? If it's only once a week, can you include it more? Can you include it twice a week, 3 times a week? It could be doing something simple. Do you enjoy going for a walk? Are you only going for a walk once a day or once a week? Can you do more of that? Can you include more of the things that make you feel good, that make you feel passionate into your day? And third, very important tip is to validate your emotions no matter where you're at. Our emotions are very real. There is no right way or wrong way to feel. So acknowledge where you're at and start there. Start there. I always say to my clients, lean in with conscious curiosity and compassion for where you're at, because the journey always informs the destination. So be super kind to yourself along the way. And again, if anybody is interested in finding out more about Nourishment Vitality and our innovative programs that we do offer, our online courses that we offer, please do visit our website at www.sherylputerman.com and take a look at the resources, the videos, the free guides that we offer as well. Sign up for those, and you can get started on your journey of living a better life, one habit at a time.
Amazing. I've hugely enjoyed this conversation, and
Thank you.
it's can you give everyone a link to your social as well? Can they find you on the various platforms?
Yes, absolutely. So, Dave, firstly, I've also truly enjoyed this conversation with you. It's been amazing. I love the way that you're thinking as well, with meditation and really tuning into who you truly are. It's fabulous, and it shines through. And it was a wonderful talk. Thank you. My social media channels, everything can be found on the website. Again, that's www.sherylputerman.com, SherylPuterman.com. Puterman. I am on Facebook as well, Nourishment Vitality, Sheryl Puterman, Nourishment Vitality, on Instagram at Sheryl Puterman. And please do reach out. I'd love to have a conversation. We do offer emotional support. We do offer nutritional support, corporate wellness programs, relationship wellness programs, individual coaching packages. So reach out and do connect with me. I'd love to talk to you.
Amazing. Sheryl, thank you very, very much, and look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you, Dave. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Sheryl.